Continuing to episode 11, at a church headquarters, Zeta and several numbers infiltrate to retrieve an item possessed by Mordred, a member of the church's round table. However, only his subordinates are present, and Mordred is nowhere to be found. While searching the database at the location, the targeted item has already been taken. The item in question appears to be a modern white remote control. For some reason, Zeta immediately concludes that Oriana's fate is sealed if it's gone this way. Nevertheless, he remains unworried because everything is sure to go according to Shadow's plan. On the other side, after meeting Rose yesterday, Sid deduces that Rose's parents are held hostage by Dome. Consequently, Rose cannot move freely. Sid plans to resolve the issue by taking steps as a shadow manipulator in freeing her captives. This way, the shackles binding Rose will be released, bringing the birth of a king one step closer. While Sid daydreams and enjoys his tea, Margaret suddenly appears by his side. She expresses concern that Sid might have gotten lost in the palace yesterday, especially with a disgusting guard wandering around. According to her, even inside the palace, Sid's safety is not guaranteed. However, Margaret reassures him that there's no need to worry now as the guard in question has been accused of stealing food. Although not explicitly stated, the accuser is likely Margaret herself. Margaret promises to protect Sid, whether from stalkers or those pretending to be his mentor. While Margaret continues to ramble, Sid tries to free himself from her grasp, but it proves difficult. Coincidentally, Epsilon, taking a break from her performance, arrives at the scene. Of course, she hears Margaret's words. The two engage in subtle banter. Unbeknownst to them, Sid is no longer there, only his clothes remain. He has replaced Epsilon in playing the piano, wearing only his underwear. After finishing, Sid returns to the room to put on his clothes. Margaret is no longer there, having been scolded by another maid. While playing the piano earlier, Sid wonders why people aren't worried at all, considering the critical times in the kingdom of Oriana. Epsilon then informs him that the nobles here despise violence and only appreciate art. This stems from the history of the kingdom of Oriana due to the tragedy of the Black Rose. As Epsilon talks about it, Sid becomes curious and wants to see the Black Rose firsthand. Of course, Epsilon panics a little as it is too dangerous. Despite this, Epsilon will still trust her master's choice. Sid is surprised by Epsilon's passionate acting, as he is only curious about the appearance of Black Rose petals. Little does Sid know that the Black Rose Epsilon refers to as a powerful artifact. Setting aside the Black Rose, Sid is currently focused on saving Queen Rina first. He discreetly looks through the palace window to locate her. Eventually, Sid finds Queen Rina, but what he witnesses does not align with typical hostage behavior. Instead, Queen Rina appears to have romantic feelings for Dome. They are affectionately sharing a moment together, with Queen Rina even asking Dome to kill Rose after their marriage, followed by marrying Queen Rina herself. Sid perceives this situation as overly dramatic, akin to a daytime soap opera. It's a complex family issue. However, Sid is confident that if Rose learns about this, she will be consumed by anger and rise up in rebellion to become a queen. Later in the evening, Margaret enters Rose's room to serve tea. However, she does so with a noticeably disdainful attitude towards Rose. Despite the mistreatment, Rose willingly endures it for the sake of her parents. At that moment, Rose senses a gentle breeze from outside. Yet, upon approaching the window, she sees no one. Unbeknownst to her, Shadow has suddenly appeared in the same spot, sipping tea. Rose panics upon seeing Shadow, fearing that Shadow intends to kill her. However, she reciprocates Shadow's kindness with malice. Shadow remains unresponsive, instructing Rose to accompany him. Shadow wants to reveal the truth. They then head to the balcony where Queen Rina and Dome are present. There, Queen Rina and Dome engage in passionate intimacy. During this moment, Rose overhears a conversation that is profoundly distressing. Queen Rina desires to seize control of the kingdom with Dome's assistance. To achieve this, she is willing to drug the king's food to manipulate him through Dome. Hearing this, Rose is so overwhelmed that she vomits. Shadow asserts that this is the harsh reality. Rose, still in shock, refuses to fully believe her mother would go to such lengths. However, no matter how bitter it is, Shadow urges her to accept this truth. Rose is so traumatized by the revelation that she faints. Shadow, feeling a bit guilty for causing Rose distress, only intended to help her eliminate the traitors. Shadow carried the unconscious Rose back to her room. Shortly afterward, she regained consciousness but still felt a heavy shock. Rose believed her actions thus far were in vain. She daydreamed about returning to the way things were with Sid. From the balcony, the melodic sound of a piano could be heard. The one playing it was Sid. Desperate and disheartened, Rose wished to escape with Sid. Up to this point, Rose had killed her father, been betrayed by her mother, betrayed her organization, and rejected by her own people. Despite all this, only Sid remained willing to be with her. As he continued to play, Sid expressed his liking for the song he was playing. The song made it easier for him to see this world. Sid divided the world into two parts, one for something precious to him and the other for everything else. If he didn't do that, Sid's dreams wouldn't come true. Time and power are limited, so he devoted everything to something valuable to him. However, there are many distractions. The world shines too brightly for him. Therefore, his world is illuminated only by the moonlight. He believes that one only needs to see what is precious under the moonlight. At the end of the sentence, Sid suddenly changed his voice to Shadow's voice and disappeared. Rose, still shocked by what happened, couldn't confirm whether what she just saw was a hallucination or not. What's certain is that on the piano chair, there was a ring left behind. Rose considered the ring as evidence of Sid's feelings. Meanwhile, Sid, who had just returned to the inn, didn't expect the ring he brought to be missing. He thought it was stolen. While there, Sid encountered Epsilon when entering the hot springs. Sid informed her that he had handed over his key. He was confident that Rose would ring the bell of rebellion. The key Sid referred to as the motivational phrase for Rose. As for Epsilon, she interpreted the key as the ring from Seisho Fortress, although, in reality, Rose already had the ring unintentionally. 3 days later, the day of Rose and Doan's wedding finally arrived. The citizens strongly opposed Rose's actions. However, they couldn't do anything because the guard stationed in front of the palace shot anyone who rebelled. Before the wedding ceremony, Doan felt relieved because his efforts would finally pay off. However, the king had schemed a trick into the ring Doan coveted. The owner of the inherited ring was changed from King Gurk to Princess Rose. If Doan wanted to become the heir to the ring, he had to marry Rose and introduce his blood into the royal lineage. He reluctantly did it under Mordred's orders. However, since Doan already had his ring, he was confident he would secure a position at the round table. In his moment of joy, Doan attempted to open the ring box he had been carrying, but the ring was not there. Panic set in, especially when Mordred suddenly contacted him, saying he had prepared a seat at the round table for Doan. Afterward, the wedding ceremony began. Sid was seen playing the organ at the church where the wedding took place. When the priest asked for the marriage vows from the couple, Rose firmly declared her unwillingness. Doan attempted to threaten her by mentioning Queen Rina, but Rose, already aware of the truth, was not intimidated by the threat. Whatever happens, she will hold on to her true love. Rose vowed over the ring given by Sid. Doan was surprised to see the ring in Rose's possession. After taking the oath, Rose then put on the ring on her finger. Suddenly, a video projection appeared almost throughout the kingdom of Oriana, including the church. The video featured King Gurk revealing all of Doan's crimes. He recorded the video before losing consciousness entirely. King Gurk had become aware that his consciousness was eroding day by day due to some medicine. He didn't know how it worked. When King Gurk asked his wife to exchange the food, it was futile. What he knew for sure was that it was Doan's doing. People in the church who sided with Doan intended to scapegoat him alone. In the video, King Gurk entrusted the future of the kingdom to the person he trusted the most, Rose Oriana. He asked the people always to trust her. After the video ended, Doan dismissed it as nonsense. At that moment, those who previously supported Doan now cornered him. Then, Rose drew a sword with slime power to behead Doan. By the way, Queen Rina was also present, but she completely ignored what was happening because she wasn't interested in this marriage. However, her attention began to shift when she saw Doan's head rolling. At the same time, Queen Rina's head was suddenly severed. It turns out the priest who had been standing behind Rose was Mordred, the ninth seat member of the Round Table. In his hand, there was a remote that Zeta had been looking for. Mordred stated that all the conditions had been met, allowing him to open the door. Instantly, Rose's ring emitted light into the sky, creating rose-shaped lightning. Since it was nighttime, its shape resembled more of a black rose. This was the form of the legend that once destroyed 100,000 Vegalta soldiers overnight. From the Black Rose, Mordred summoned the great king of the fourth demon world, Ragnarok. However, they were unaware that Shadow had been there all along. When Ragnarok appeared, Shadow easily cut off his left arm. The outcome of the next battle remains uncertain,